You're on, Ranger Johnson.
The Hawk Skywatch weather today, sunny, a chance of showers for Guysborough County, a high of 23, a very high UV index. Tonight, a few clouds, foggy, a low of 11. Wednesday, sunny, a chance of late day showers for Guysborough County, a high of 24. Thursday, cloudy, showers for Antigonish County, a chance of showers for the rest of the Quad counties, a high of 24. Friday, cloudy with a chance of showers and a high of 24.
Right now in the Quad counties, it's 18.
Now, Greg.
Next news update at 9 or anytime on 115 The Hawk.
Now, Greg, we have a special guest in the studio this morning. His name is Ranger Johnson. Some people might know him as Aaron Johnson. He wore number 45 for the Boston Bruins last year, the conference champion Boston Bruins last year. This year, looking at a whole new team, a little bit south from Boston, going to New York City. How do you feel about going? We're going to talk hockey here for a little bit with Ranger Johnson. How do you feel about going to New York?
Very excited. Yeah. Obviously, it's one of the nicest places to play with Madison Square Garden, the Big Apple, one of the greatest cities in the world. So I'm very excited. Unfortunately, it's a rival of Boston, so I'm kind of crossing to the other side. But I'm looking forward to the challenge.
How did the opportunity come about?
I talked a little bit with my agent before the free agent frenzy.
Free agent frenzy
that we call it here in Canada. And we had a couple teams that were interested. New York was at the top of the list, and once we were allowed to sign, that I think it was noon on Friday, the phone rang and wanted to do a deal, and it was just that easy. It was send the paperwork, sign it, and move on.
So was it pretty well in place before? Because there was a period where you could talk to teams and stuff like that. Was it sort of all in place, and then you signed on the dotted line when you were allowed to, type thing?
Yeah, I mean, this year was kind of different. With they gave us a couple days to go and talk to other teams or figure out what teams were interested. So the deal was pretty much done, and it was just a matter of wait until the league allowed us to make that signature, and they called. They called back. Sometimes in this situation, you're kind of guaranteed stuff, and then come Monday things change, or come Friday. But this year it worked out quick, and I'm glad it's done, and now I can just relax, train, and prepare for the season.
Now, bouncing from city to city, because you've been on, this is team number 8, NHL team number 8, which is awesome for you. I think it might be close to a record of how many teams you've been on. Did you have a place in Boston? Do you have to sell that place and move to New York?
It's constant renting and moving.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I was telling my brother I should just buy a U-Haul truck because it'd be a lot easier and a lot cheaper. But it's not an issue for me. I love meeting people. I get to see a lot of the great cities in the States and in Canada, and meet a lot of great people. So I'd love to find a place and stick with it, and get a nice 3-4 year contract and be able to settle down. But in my situation, that's just not the case, and I'm okay with that. And I'm pretty much going to do whatever it takes.
I mean, there's two sides to it, of course. I mean, you're living the dream. You're playing in the NHL, but on the other hand, it's a lot of uncertainty, like you say. But if you're willing to move and stuff like that, I mean, you got a pretty good gig right now, right? You got to be loving life. Yeah,
I'm definitely not complaining. It could be a lot worse, that's for sure. But as long as the phone keeps ringing, I'm okay. It's when they stop calling that I'm afraid of. So I keep working and hoping that they see something they like.
Now, you seem to end up with a good buddy of yours, Rick Nash, quite a bit. How much did that play into your decision to go to New York?
A lot. I think anytime you can play with guys that you know and are good buddies with, it's only going to help the team situation. There's a lot of guys actually that I played with. I played with Brad Richards, who was in Rimouski when we won the Marriott Memorial Cup. Yeah. Derek Brassard, Derek Dorsett. So there's a lot of familiarity there, and that can only help us in the long run.
Now, what did the Rangers talk to you when you were in negotiations regarding your spot in the organization? Because we know they got a pretty stacked blue line with guys like McDonough, Girardi, Stahl, Delzato, guys like that. So what are their plans for you?
Yeah, I'm just a depth guy that you're going to bring experience. That's kind of turned into my role now that I get older and into a position where, I'm not going to be a 1-2 defenseman in the NHL, and I'm okay with that. It's just a matter of continuing working and helping the team. So they've talked to me and come in and have a good camp and go from there. I mean, injuries happen. There's a lot of things that change throughout the season, and who knows, by the end of the season, I could be a fourth defenseman if things go well, and that's obviously the goal. But
you say old, you're 30.
I know. This makes me
30.
feel old because I remember when Aaron got drafted by Columbus way back in the day. I think it was 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
I remember writing up the story for this very radio station that Port Hawkesbury's Aaron Johnson got drafted by Columbus, and it was such a big deal. And here he is talking about being a veteran and one of the old guys.
I know it's.
What are you doing to me?
But you're 30. Is that
By NHL standards,
that average? That's old?
You're getting there. You're getting up there.
That's 10 years.
Oh, gray beard.
Playing, yeah, I mean, you got guys. I was playing with an 18-year-old this year with Doug Hamilton, and it's it's mind-boggling to see these young kids in the NHL and remember being that young and that immature and making the mistakes that he makes. And
so do you become like that leader in the locker room? Do you become that veteran that becomes like the favorite uncle, that you're there to help out these nephews get just become superstars?
Yeah, I mean, eventually you become that role model that they're looking at. It was kind of a tough situation when you're used to always being the young guy in every team, because you want to be an elite player, so you have to move up, and you're usually the young guy. But now these guys are coming into the league and kind of following what you do, and it's almost like a little kid that you're kind of showing them the way that older guys kind of showed me. So that's a fun part. I think as you grow older, you get to help those guys out and see them perform on the ice, and it's not always nice to give back.
It sounds so weird when you say when you're growing older.
I know.
The man is 30.
But also the thing that happened too with the last CBA, the last lockout, when they brought in the salary cap, there really has been more of an emphasis on the younger guys because they're cheaper and that sort of thing to get them in there. So that's, I guess that's part of the reason too, right?
Yeah, I mean, those first 2 contracts are usually the time that they can develop the players and take advantage of a low salary player. So that's just the business of the game, and I think players are just that much better at 18, 19, and 20 that they're able to just jump into the league. That just wasn't the case for us probably 10 years ago, but the game's developed so much, and there's so much skill out there that they're able to just jump in and have an influence on the team.
Sure. So let's go back to Boston. What another original six team? I think this is the third one, right?
Yeah.
Chicago, Boston, and New York. But with Boston, what was that experience like with the team that just off a Stanley Cup a couple years ago and being in that locker room?
Yeah, they had a really tight group. It was really fun to be a part of. Obviously, a lot of experience there. You can only learn by watching guys like Chara, Seidenberg, Ferentz. So much experience and so much talent that you just, as a guy in my situation, that I never really got a chance to be in the playoffs other than when I was with Chicago. So, it's nice to just sit back, see what they do differently, stay calm in those crazy, Game 7 situations with Toronto.
Is there much difference between playoffs and like regular season games in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another game in the sense that you go out and you just do what you do, which you've done all season.
Because once you start hyping it up in your mind, that's when you probably run into trouble, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's when you get a little too overexcited and think about the situation, and bad things happen. But it's funny. The more you're into the playoffs, the more you realize the regular season is important, but it's more about getting to that playoff situation, because the preseason is not as important as the season, and then once you get to the playoffs, well, the season isn't as important as the playoffs. It just kind of gets bigger and bigger, and but at the end of the day, you just go out and play your game, and that's what makes I think Boston successful.
So being around the team, we'll go back to the first round, Game 7. A lot of smart people in the Quad Counties, a lot of Leafs fans. What we want to know is, what was it like because you're around the team, you're in TD Garden in Game 7. What was it like when
Toronto Dominion Garden, by the way,
when your team is down 3 goals in the third period? Was there panic? Was there a sense of, well, we've been here before, let's just do what we got to do? What was it?
I wasn't a part of that game, so in my situation, I was in the press box watching. Well,
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna unpack my apartment tomorrow. I'm heading back. I'll start making plans to go back and see the family. And that was really it. I mean, 3 goals in the NHL in Game 7, you're pretty set. You would think. And then we scored a goal, and then even at 4-2, there was still no panic, I don't think, on their side.
No. And they had a breakaway with like 4 minutes left and could have iced it right there and didn't. Not to relive old bad memories, but
it still hurts.
Last thing you guys want to hear is all this, but those 2 quick goals, and then to be honest, I think once we tied it up, we just knew.
Yeah. So did everybody else.
This game. Yeah. So
but even going into Game 7 was like being around the team and the game day skates and stuff like that. I'm assuming there's no panic with the team that just won a Stanley Cup a couple years ago. No,
I mean we still joke around in the morning skate. Even before the game, you're very relaxed. I think that's why they've been successful. They just have that experience. They know that you don't have to go out and just run guys and create all this energy. You just got to go out and play your game. Power play, PK. If they score a goal, it's okay. If we score a goal, well, let's not get too up. I mean, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride of emotion when you're not right there, and it's like, oh well, we lost a game. Well, this is it. This is the end. Or we win the game. Well, we're going to the cup. It's more just even keel and taking it one game at a time.
And you can kind of see it in the guys' faces in the post game interviews after that game, because, like you say, everyone's sort of even keel and you don't get too panicked, but you could kind of see the roller coaster of emotion came out when they started to talk about it, like, what did we just do here type thing.
Yeah, it
just crushed a whole country. Pretty much. That's what they did.
It's something we unfortunately got a little taste of against Chicago in Game 6. So
yeah.
That stuff happens. That's the playoffs, and that's what makes it exciting as a fan and as a player.
All right, so I want to take a break. Okay, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll talk about second round, third round of the playoffs, and the finals. Can we do that?
Yeah,
let's do
it's
that.
Up to you,
all right,
boss.
Okay, we're taking a break. We'll be back with Ranger Johnson here on the Hawk.
Greg Morrow and Brad Perry in the Hawk News.